All right, Nick, let's talk about the Las Vegas Raiders. The Raiders, over the last 10 years or so, I'd say vibes have been kind of down for the organization, whether it's the John Gruden times, whether it's Josh McDaniels, the team moving from Oakland to Las Vegas, not the best of times until now. With the hiring of Pete Carroll, everything seems to be changing for this Raiders team. Tom Brady's involved. The vibes are up. And you don't have to take our word for it. Someone really important to the Raiders has come out and said just the same. We have a great article about that. But before we get into that, I'm Andrew, and this is Saturday Morning Inspection. All right, Nick, as I alluded to, the Raiders, good vibes, good times, and it's not just us saying it. Some of the best players on the Raiders are saying exactly the same thing. So let's get a view from inside of the locker room on what's going on in Las Vegas. This, of course, is over from NBC Sports. It says Raiders defensive end Maxx Crosby liked the energy in the room when Pete Carroll was introduced as the team's new head coach last month, and his good feelings about the direction of the organization haven't gone away. Talking about the past, he said, I've had doubts in the past, Crosby said. I feel like this past year was the hardest part of my career, battling through injury the whole year, struggling, losing 10 games in a row. Up here, it makes you start to question a lot of things. Crosby went on to say the arrival of Carroll and new general manager John Spytek, along with Tom Brady's presence in ownership, make him the most optimistic I've been since he's been a part of the franchise. I think that's huge vote of confidence from Maxx Crosby, a legendary player. And that's good for the Raiders as well. Crosby, people are wondering, is he going to try to leave? Is he going to ask for a trade from the Raiders? I don't think so. The vibes are finally good in Las Vegas. We're seeing something really special happen here. Curious what your thoughts are on this one, Nick. But before we get to you, Raiders fans, in the comment section below, I know it's really early on in the process, and I know, it's really hard to tell. But do you like what has gone on as far as all of the hirings, this organization as a whole? Do you get good vibes from this team? Do you feel like the team is moving in a positive direction? Or is it too early to tell? You're not sure? Or do you not like it? Let us know your thoughts on what you think about the vibes in the organization in the comment section below. But nonetheless, Nick, what do you think all of this means for Las Vegas?
We've talked about it so far this offseason. All of the Raiders hires have been all about stability, all about bringing in proven performers in the National Football League, not high risk moves, not interesting moves, just bringing in proven guys in the front office and, of course, the coaching staff to get the Raiders back to stability, get them back to 500, get them back to the postseason, and then over time gradually build this team back into a Super Bowl title contender. And one of the things that's very interesting, we've seen this dynamic play out in the National Football League, is that as much as players love playing for a player's coach, a guy who is a former player that gets it, a guy like Antonio Pierce, for example, what they actually really want is just stability in the organization. The Lions had a similar situation when their first year under Dan Campbell, when they brought him into the fold and they traded for Jared Goff. They had Anthony Lynn was calling their offense. It was a little not, it wasn't working well. It was just sort of a debacle. So what did Dan Campbell do at the time? He took over play calling and just settled it down and just said, we're just going to run the ball, do simple stuff, play action. And then they went to Ben Johnson, and then the rest is history. They became a really exciting offense, and they really turned that entire team around. People love stability. Look at the Washington Commanders. They hired Dan Quinn. Dan Quinn, obviously a very solid defensive coordinator, known as a turnaround artist, did some good things for the Atlanta Falcons as a head coach, but of course, most famously blew a massive 28-3 lead in the Super Bowl against the Patriots. And they brought in Cliff Kingsbury to be their offensive coordinator. Raiders fans, of course, he was close to coming to Las Vegas. What did that do for Washington? It brought stability. Is that the best coaching staff combination in football? No. Is it a top five? No. I would argue it probably isn't even a top 10, but it's one of the more stable ones. It got the Commanders back to playing good, consistent, winning football. And if you have good quarterback play, you can go on a magical run like Washington did. That's what the Raiders are trying to recreate. And I think it's a really solid strategy. And heart and soul of the team, like Maxx Crosby is, the fact that he is noticing it is a great sign, because players, look, you love the players coach, you love the fun, you love the energy. But the reality is, when you're a player, you want some stability, you want some consistency. Like all of you who've been employees or whatever you've done in your careers, right? At a certain point, you love working in crazy environments and going through chaotic things and having cool perks and benefits and things like that. But at a certain point, when it's all said and done, you want to be able to come to work at 8, leave at 5, and know you'll have a paycheck and know the business is on solid footing. And the Raiders have made a lot of moves, a lot of variance moves, right? Bringing back John Gruden, Mike Mayock, right? Antonio Brown trade, obviously moving off Gruden there, not going with Rich Bisaccia, going Josh McDaniels, and then turning to Antonio Pierce after he was the interim guy. A lot of high variance moves, a lot of some good chaos, some bad chaos. The reality is the Raiders need stability and the Raiders players need stability. And so far, that's exactly what they're bringing into the fold. And the fact that a guy like Crosby is this excited so early, saying this is the most optimistic he's been, folks, that is a legit good sign. Does it mean the Raiders are going to the Super Bowl next year? Probably not. Are they going to win the following year? Probably not. But what it does mean is it means this franchise is finally heading back to stability and winning football. And that by itself is a great sign.
Yeah, Nick, and I think this reminds me of, the New England Patriots with Belichick, with Brady. Brady knows all about stability and what a team needs. Were the Patriots fun? Like, were they the exciting, fun, happy go lucky franchise when they were dominating for so long? Not necessarily. I don't think that's the stigma that you would give that team. Some veterans even said it was a really tough franchise to be in, but they were stable. They had stability. You knew exactly what you got when you get there. It's going to be tough. Everyone's disciplined. Everyone's on the same page. They would win championships because of it. You always had a chance with Tom Brady and Belichick at the helm. I think that's what Brady's going for. I think that's the overarching theme, like you said. He wants that stability they had in New England. He knows what franchises need. He knows what players want more than they do themselves because he was the best. Brady, the GOAT, that's we all know. It's undisputable at this point. He was really just something special to watch, but he knows what players actually need, not what they want. They need that stability. They need the franchise to have stability, like you said. They got to come in, go to work, go through practices, have the game plan ready, have all of these things nailed down pat. So on game day, you don't have to worry about too much. That's where the Raiders are headed. And like you said, I'm excited about this team. Are they going to win the Super Bowl this year? Probably not. Next year, probably not. But I think, like you said, this team is going in the right direction. There's stability here, and I think Raiders fans finally have something that they can watch and see grow into something special.